The brilliance of a Hollywood star never fades with age. In the movie business, some spirits of deceased celebrities are still searching for the bright lights.
From Hollywood studios to stars' homes, even the dead cannot resist being in the limelight.
From the outside, these studios look like just another industrial warehouse.
But there's more going on here than just movie making.
On a prison set, unusual sounds, strange movements, and unexplained happenings have become almost commonplace.
I can't really, count the number of times that something strange has happened down here. I can just tell you that the employees do not like to be down here at night alone. Well, we had an operational manager who, I don't know, he got in a fight with his wife or whatever the reason was, but he decided to stay in the corporate offices overnight. He heard some noise and he kind of woke up and looked, and there was a lady in a green dress. I don't know, he said she looked 25, 30 years old, run through the offices. And he looked through the blinds into the corporate meeting room. And he went in, and there was nothing. And he was pretty shook up the next day. He didn't want anybody else to know about it when he came and talked to me. He was afraid what people might think of him because it sounded so, so strange.
Tom Mix, the famous cowboy star of the silent movies, does not rest in peace. Since his death in 1940, 2 families have occupied his house. The second family left over 3 years ago. Since then, it's remained vacant. Both families claim the house is haunted. Tom Mix was killed in an automobile accident in his 60th year. When he slammed on his brakes, his luggage, which was stowed in the back seat of the car, smashed into his head and broke his neck. He was buried in his white Ranger suit, his white riding breeches, his handmade boots, and a diamond belt buckle that spelled out his name. The last family that lived here have told how one night, as they were getting ready to take a trip up north for the weekend, they experienced a very strange phenomenon. Dan, the husband, carried his and his wife's luggage from their bedroom down the steps to the front door. It was raining outside, so he left his suitcases and went to open the trunk of the car. On opening it, he saw that it was filled with gifts and that there was no room for their luggage. So he closed the lid, opened the back door, preparing to stow the suitcases in the rear seat. He then ran back inside, only to discover the luggage was gone. He called to his wife Tracy to ask if she had taken them. No, she hadn't. Together they looked all through the house, but couldn't find their luggage anywhere. Then Tracy heard a sound from downstairs. It sounded like a door closing, so they went to investigate. The downstairs bedroom used to be a master suite connecting to the bathroom and dressing area. It was Tom Mix's bedroom. Dan and Tracy didn't use it as their bedroom because it always felt cold and damp. When they entered the room, Dan noticed that the closet door was ajar, and when Tracy opened it, there was their luggage neatly aligned. They never did find out how that luggage got there, but they learned that the night Tom Mix died, it was raining, and he was heading north for the weekend. Internationally known artist Charles Bragg lives in a home with a uniquely star-studded legacy.
This is an old house, and it was originally built by William Randolph Hearst for Marion Davies' favorite director, Robert Vignola. And from what we understand, he would rehearse her up here. There's a little theater downstairs with a proscenium and curtains, and it's like a tiny theater. And she would come up here and rehearse with Vignola, and then twice a week, William Randolph Hearst would come up here and she would put on little shows for him. I'd like to say I don't believe in ghosts. I'd like to, but I really can't. It seems to me that for so many years and so many experiences by so many different people, that it's not beyond the realm of possibility that there is something going on in this world, and in the Hollywood Hills in particular. Well, this is my studio, and it's a very important room to me, and I'd worked here for a couple of months before I realized that This is also where Marion Davies put on her little shows for William Randolph Hearst. And I thought it'd be a good idea to just hang curtains on it, you know, just to add a little atmosphere to an artist studio. And it seems that that's when things started to happen on this platform, after the curtains went up. Suddenly our dogs started to respond. Right around 8:15 in the evening, they would be sound asleep, just relaxed by the fireplace. And all of a sudden they would jump up, get very alert, and then both of them simultaneously make their way down this little passageway, sort of almost a secret little passageway down. And I just find them down there just sitting in the dark, looking straight towards the stage. After watching the dogs behave the way they were, I didn't think too much of it, but naturally, the second or third time, I started thinking about it. So the next morning I would come down and check to see if everything's in the right place, things are in order, and the strangest thing, the curtains were down, as if they'd almost been drawn at the end of a performance. They weren't completely together, but it was almost as if the performance were over for that time. And so I put them back up and tried to paint and forget about it, but I can't.
Do you believe there could be life on other planets? Should astronauts encounter extraterrestrials, NASA appears to have issued the following guidelines. Don't tell anybody. Our first mission to Mars posed new theories questioning the existence of a possible civilization. If so, what will the future hold? In 1976, the Viking mission to Mars sent back striking photographs of the planet's surface. These photos show artificial structures on a Martian area called Cydonia.
This is the object that is referred to as the face on Mars.
Stanley McDaniel, Professor Emeritus at Sonoma State University and Mars researcher, has extensively analyzed independent scientific evidence of the structures on Mars and NASA's arguments against further exploration of the area.
I found some material on it back in 1985 or so, and when the Mars Observer was launched, I became interested in it again. The other people are the researchers. I'm not a researcher who's studied the objects from the scientific point of view. What I've done is evaluated their research. My principal aim is to clarify the issues surrounding this subject. I found that their methods and techniques they've employed have been very sound and in keeping with what science is supposed to do. There's the eye socket shadow. There is another eye socket over here, but not as clear in this particular photo. How could you tell if an object on the surface of Mars is artificial? Well, you have to apply a number of different tests. You can't simply apply astronomical or physical tests or geological tests. You might have to apply criteria from archaeology or from architecture or even from symbolic methods of communication.
Researchers from the Mars investigation team believe these formations to be the ruins of intelligently designed structures.
Well, the face is what's called geologically a knob. Sometimes it's referred to as a mesa. It's about 1.5 miles long by a mile wide, so it's quite large. And it is an object which has the three-dimensional shape of a face. Here's the mouth, and if you look closely, you can see the apparent teeth in the mouth. It looks like a face because it has features we typically associate with a face.
Yet, NASA refuses to believe mounting scientific evidence for these formations.
NASA has taken the position that the entire thing is a fabrication of people who just want to make a lot of money or a lot of publicity. They say no matter how complex it looks, it's all a product of wind erosion. So you get this face that has an apparent pupil in the eye, apparent teeth in the mouth, a symmetrical headpiece, some hints of decoration, and every bit of it is produced by wind erosion. This has been referred to the shape here as the headpiece, and there are actually some apparently like decorative crossed lines right here on the forehead of the object.
Although the photographs do not constitute proof, they do pose enough doubt as to the origins of the structures, whether they are natural or artificial, to warrant closer inspection.
NASA believes that these objects and the theory that some of them may be artificial has no scientific interest, and the priorities for what they photograph on Mars in the upcoming missions are based on scientific interest.
The original photos of the face were actually misfiled and stumbled upon by two researchers.
It was a very important piece of evidence, and for it to have been misfiled was a strange coincidence. From the face, about 8 miles away to the west, there's a complex of structures that at first glance, some of them look pretty much like mountains, but if you look more closely, they have very peculiar features.
Recently, a new mission to Mars was launched to gather newer, higher quality photographs of the surface. However, on August the 21st, 1993, NASA announced the observer was lost just 3 days before its scheduled orbit around Mars.
Some people think that possibly alien spacecraft destroyed it. I have no way of knowing if that could be the case. And so this area has been called, quote, the city.
It has been suggested the loss of the Mars observer wasn't in fact a loss at all. What if the observer is currently photographing Mars secretly and not informing the public of its findings?
Now, this is the feature near the city, what's called the city. We don't know if it really is a city. And it's been termed the fort. Well, I believe there's a question, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Most shocking in the debate for more research on Mars is famous astronomer Carl Sagan's view on the subject.
Carl Sagan was on the Viking imaging team back in 1976 when the Viking orbiters took these photos. Some critics, such as Carl Sagan, for example, have tried to imply that this is just a psychological projection and that people are just imagining it, but I can't see that at all. Looking at the object called the face, I don't see how anyone could deny that it looks like a face. There's a stream bed, or what looks like it may have been an ancient stream that moves along like this and ends up right at the tip of this cut here.
Is there something about Mars we don't know?
A lot of people feel that that it's definitely a cover-up. I have to admit that NASA's behavior with regard to this issue seems impossible to explain from a legitimate point of view. It may be simply that they just don't get the point. If there was habitation there, it could have taken place 1 million years ago, more than 1 million years ago, or thousands and thousands of years ago. Also, it could have been beings or people who lived in closed environments that were protected from the Martian atmosphere. Some people have speculated that this may have been something like a reservoir. Richard Hoagland has hypothesized that some of the structures there were actually closed environments for underground living.
Perhaps future exploration of Mars will prove to be one of the greatest scientific discoveries in human history. Stories of women being impregnated by aliens have circulated for years. Today, we hear from people claiming to be the offspring of such encounters.
It can be a traumatic experience to meet your biological parents if you've been adopted. But what if your father is an alien? This is the story Eddie Page told us.
I am a genetic experiment that has evolved for the last 40+ years. The people I've come to know are from a star system called the Pleiades. I am one of their children, and I am one of many children. I want people to know that I am not the only one, because I have 7 sisters who are identical to me.
I am a sister of the seven sisters of Eddie Page, the hybrid alien. I don't like the word alien. I like to call us celestial beings.
From the period of 1953 to 1955, with the knowledge that the United States government received from these beings from the Pleiades, there was genetic experiments allowed for certain technology exchange under the understanding that this technology would be used for the benefit of all mankind. There was a list given to the United States government of the women that was selected at random to participate in these genetic experiments. My mother happened to be one of them participants. My mother wasn't supposed to have children. She had a complete hysterectomy, but about 4 months later, I was born. When we were born, we were sent back out west, we've been told, to a base, a military-sponsored base, where these children were analyzed and kept in isolation, and then the government selected government-sponsored families to raise these kids as humans.
I have been experiencing things all of my life, not realizing what it all meant until about the last 9 months, 10 months. And as a child, I was experiencing beings in my bedroom.
What was your first encounter like?
It was very traumatic to actually see something that I've been raised all my life that doesn't exist, to actually see a craft land in front of me and beings come off and say, they are why I'm here. I've got to know my father, who is a Palladian from a planet in the star system called Treasuous.
I have been a healer all my life, and I've had a light that pulsates through my body, which has had a tremendous effect on catastrophic diseases.
Eddie told us about an unusual experience he had while in the Marine Corps in Vietnam.
Our mission was to assassinate the premier of North Vietnam. At this time, there was 12 of us that sent out in this reactionary team, and we were, something went haywire, and every one of us got killed. And I remember all of a sudden, there was no existence no more. It was just like everything had stopped for me. And I remember a very bright white light. I don't know where it came from, but the next thing I know, that I'm looking down and I'm seeing my body being restructured. I'm seeing some odd, there was like 7 or 8 odd-looking beings. They were working on me.
When Eddie was taken up on the ship, I was by his side the whole time and administering my light to him, to his forehead, while they were replacing his body with the 8 alien organs.
And then, next thing I know, I'm found 11 days later in a rice paddy, and I'm picked up by the U.S. Army. Medical records and medical tests done here in the past year and a half have substantiated what I've been saying, that a lot of my internal system, my heart, my blood cannot be identified, even to the existence I have an extra vertebrae and an extra rib.
Eddie and his sister Victoria report seeing the Pleiadians often.
They'll always throw flares. Sometimes they'll throw as many as 20 flares down in a location, kind of a little celebration.
They will throw out streamers, which, like what she says, like they look like flares. And what they are electrical streamers, and they charge the atmosphere. And this is a way of identifying themselves.
According to Eddie, the Pleiadians have been visiting our planet for thousands of years, nurturing our growth.
Mysterious formations in the crops have baffled people for years. It seems that the more we learn about crop circles, the more questions arise about them.
Crop circles have been sighted in various fields around the world since at least the 1960s. To find out more about these strange patterns, I spoke with Ilis, the national coordinator for the Center for Crop Circle Studies.
First of all, can you define for me, what is a crop circle?
A crop circle basically
is crop or vegetation that is bent over unnaturally. It's basically laid vegetation swirled into a pattern which on the ground is not visible, but it is visible from the air.
As a member of the research team, Peter Sorensen videotapes crop circles in England. He described what some of the patterns look like.
This is very typical of some of the early crop circle designs that we had. For the first 10 years or so, there was nothing but just circles. And then there began to be patterns of circles, and then there were circles with rings around them. And up until this time, some of the scientists were arguing that it was a form of electrified whirlwind, that the spinning wind was making the circles, and the electricity, the electrical charge in it, was what was softening the stalks so that they could bend in this magical way. But it wasn't too long after the circles began to appear that straight lines began to appear. Obviously, these straight lines are not made by a storm. It's also important to know that the crop circles appear overnight.
Some people are skeptical and think crop circles are man-made, just as a hoax. So how can you tell if a crop circle is real?
My first criterion for determining when I walk into a formation is by dowsing. In the 3 years that I've been exploring formations both in England and in the United States here now for 2 years, what I've learned is that the dowsing rods do not respond to anything in a man-made formation. Otherwise, the dowsing rods respond immediately. As soon as you cross the perimeter of the formation from the field, there is an energy there at the perimeter. Additionally, we do crop sampling. We get the numbers. There are certain numbers and ratios of numbers that indicate genuineness. There are soil changes in the formations. There are photographic anomalies that, as we're shooting with video cameras or even regular cameras, films come out different.
So after the evolution of crop circles began to get lines in them, they began to be very complex, like this. This one is huge, probably nearly 400 feet long. Circles and rings and lines and arcs, and these tremendous formations began to get great attention to the world, finally, because up to that point, people could dismiss crop circles, but not when they're like this. So in recent years, the crop circles have begun to take on recognizable shapes. And they're no longer looking like abstract code, they're getting to be much more literal. So here on my first flight in 1994 was this incredible insect shape. Now I'm on a flight with another very good friend of mine, the pilot Steve Patterson, and we found this king scorpion up there, tremendous scorpion formation. Notice the spacing between these tractor lines is about 50 or 60 feet. At the end of each year, there is what we call the grand finale, because the crop circles seem to go through an evolution. There is simple circles in the springtime and then more complicated ones as the season gets along. At the end of 1993, there was this incredible formation that was like a mandala. There was a series of lotus petals around the outside and a big five-pointed star in the middle of this crop circle. It was astounding to see. And one of the interesting features about this is that it wasn't perfectly round, it was sort of oval, but it was on a steep slope. And if a perfectly circular beam of energy had come down from above, that would have created exactly that oval. The crop circles seem to cluster around sacred sites in England, especially an ancient stone circle called Avebury. It's like Stonehenge, only it's older and it's much, much larger. So here is the Avebury stone circle area, and this was our grand finale in 1994. The rings, with their beautiful proportions and the web formation around the outside, occurred in 2 different nights. And that's actually a good sign, because Avebury is such a populated area that if you were a hoaxer, you wouldn't start something in a crowded place and then come back the next night.
Crop circles have appeared in countries all around the world, in grain, sand, even ice. I asked Ilas who investigates them and how they're funded.
All of the researchers are volunteers. We have no funding, no grant monies coming together for this. I make any photos that I have, provided I have permission to release them, available to anybody who wants to purchase them. We have a video which includes aerial, ground, and pole shots of the 92, 3, and 4 formations.
What is the purpose of a crop circle?
This is made I believe wholeheartedly this is made with love for us by a non-physical, very high-order intelligence. It's a gift. They're trying to wake us up to this fact that we are living amongst other intelligences and other beings, and they're trying to do it as unobtrusively, as gently as they can, but as very definitely and as urgently as they can, because our time is short.
It changes you. It's changing the world. Whatever is the cause of this, the world is not going to be the same because of this beauty, great, great beauty.
The United Nations promote peace and unity between the countries of the world. It is only a question of time before the planets of the universe require such a council for galactic matters.
Who are we, and what is our role in the universe? Planet Earth is part of a great cosmic drama, and our journey to become part of another galaxy has already begun.
Sheldon Neidl and Peggy McConnell have made it their mission to guide us through this journey. They claim to represent planet Earth in the Galactic Federation.
The Galactic Federation is a group right now of over, or just about 200,000 star systems and star leagues whose sole process and purpose is to bring light into this galaxy.
The Galactic Federation acts as the United Nations for the planets in the Sirius galaxy.
Sirius is a star system. It's approximately 8.3 light years from us. A light year is approximately 5.9 trillion miles.
Sheldon says that in order for us to become part of the Sirius star system, we have to change. And that is where the Galactic Federation comes in.
The Federation is here to help us shift as humans into our full consciousness. What is happening is we have been designated as a major galactic center or showcase for the entire concept of moving our entire galaxy.
He claims the Galactic Federation has instructed him to prepare planet Earth for its major journey to another solar system. There is a telepathic link between Sheldon and Sirians.
I was briefed by a whole group of Sirians. There's a Sirian computer ship way out in the outer parts of our particular star system, our solar system. So I'm constantly in contact, I'm constantly getting information, I'm constantly being told what's going on, both up there and down over here.
The Galactic Federation has a tremendous task in this galaxy.
Well, right now, they are controlling the different gates, stargates, which are the interdimensional portals through which all the different groups go.
Both Peggy and Sheldon are in contact with the Galactic Federation on a daily basis.
He'll get the ship's reports, where I'll get the counseling reports, or I'll get the medical team reports. I have a ship and I have a command. My primary purpose is counseling, and I'm able to communicate with the different civilizations, different planets, and different processes.
Sheldon has been contacted by the Sirians since childhood.
I've been afraid to say it to anybody because I thought they would say I was totally crazy. Most of us right now are here for a basic purpose. That purpose is to help this planet shift into its full galactic crystalline consciousness, as I like to call it, and also help all of us as Earth beings, as Earth humans, become fully conscious beings.
Reaching full consciousness means major changes in our outlook on life and in our physical bodies. As planet Earth's electrical and magnetic fields collapse, the atoms and the composition of the DNA in our bodies will be modified to form a new body. We will not be living in the third-dimensional reality, but in the reality of the galactic light. The fundamental physical changes also lie in the composition of our DNA.
If we would just open our eyes and see that we are the blessings and we are the gift, that really is going to transform our whole galaxy.
Sheldon and Peggy claim that all these changes on Earth are taking place now.
Because we are being shifted spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and most importantly, physically as well.
Once we have reached our full potential, we will be ready for the final part of the journey.
The photon belt is a huge mass of light and energy. It will be responsible for moving our solar system into a higher dimension, the 5th dimension. Our planet will move to a new position in space closer to the Sirius star system.
Then we will be in a wholly new set of spatial relationships.
Once our planet has shifted to the new position in space, we will become part of the Sirius star system. The Sirius galaxy is said to be a number of civilizations together, most of them looking like us in physical appearance.
Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are almost transparent, some are even more humanoid looking, if that's possible, than we are. They have all different skin colors. They are basically our ancestors. They're also, as part of this entire civilization of the Galactic Federation, non-human groups such as amphiboids, you might call them like salamander or frog-type peoples, reptoid peoples.
Sheldon told me that one Sirian council, Washta, has guided him through his life.
Washta is a person I've been very close to since I was a little boy. I've seen more and more that the message that he gave me and is continuing to give me is a message of great, incredible love and hope for our planet.
Sheldon feels that it will be easy to convince people of this incredible change because it has already started.
They feel deep in here in their heart that it's true because they feel that experience inside themselves as well. And this whole new reality is our full conscious planet, our full conscious galactic civilization, and the final intermixing and contact with the whole process of our space brothers and sisters and ourselves coming together again.
They say that we will play an important role in the Sirian galaxy.
Because we're going to be the teachers the next round. And so it's very exciting to see, even in the Bible it says that the last shall be first. Well, we're the last planet to go conscious in the solar system, but the next round of our solar system will be the teachers to teach these other planets how to use free will, how to be loving, and how to be compassionate.
They feel that the most important thing is that we are going back to where we belong. If the Galactic Federation is right, the planets of the entire galaxy will reunite again for the first time in billions and billions of years.
Hollywood, the land of fame, fortune, and golden opportunities. This is where dreams come true for a few lucky individuals. But there is another side of Hollywood, filled with mystery, scandal, and murder.
Hollywood, the land of fame, fortune, and the movies. Amongst a sea of public adoration, movie stars were living the lives of royalty, from their posh limousines to their luxuriant Beverly Hills mansions. But there is a darker side.
You know, they say that every event has a story behind it. Well, that's especially true here in Hollywood, where the strangest things occur, more so than any other place in the world. I'm right now on Hollywood Boulevard, which was the mecca and the dream place back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, where every young starlet and young guy would come out and hopefully become that next Clark Gable or Cary Grant or Lana Turner. I'm about to take you on a tour of Hollywood that you will never see anywhere else, and a tour that most patrons of Hollywood would prefer you not see.
The death of any celebrity is bound to affect grief-stricken fans. Some go as far as suicide to be with their star. One star's death in 1926 was so catastrophic that it's still clouded by mystery to this very day.
Now I'll show you one of the most famous graves of all time. Now, we're not allowed in here, but I had to show this to you anyway. Rudolph Valentino. As you can see, it's in mint condition. It's visited every day by the Lady in Black. The Lady in Black, we don't know who she is. I can tell you, a couple of years ago when I came by here to visit Rudolph, sort of a hero of mine, I saw the Lady in Black. I actually saw the Lady in Black leave flowers, and she actually left a poem taped up here. It was remarkable. Anyway, she had been here today. She left flowers here.
And if you feel the plaque is nice and smooth, but it's kind of oily, like she cleaned it with something. So it's very well taken care of. Rudolph Valentino died in 1926 at the age of 31 from peritonitis. He was at the top of his form. As a matter of fact, his death probably saved his career. With the advent of talking pictures in 1927, Valentino's career probably would never have survived. His death caused widespread pandemonium throughout the world. The mob couldn't be contained. After some order was restored during his wake in New York, he was transported back to Hollywood for the funeral. One of the most intriguing mysteries in Hollywood revolves around the former Chateau Elise Hotel, at one time the most beautiful hotel in Hollywood. In 1929, William Randolph Hearst built this as a home for the widow of producer Tom Ince. At the time, Hearst was madly in love with actress Marion Davies. She was in turn having an affair with Charlie Chaplin, which infuriated Hearst greatly. Rumor has it that he took drastic action, one that would prove costly.
So it happened one night in 1924 aboard a yacht. Hearst saw Chaplin and Marion Davies, or who he thought he saw Chaplin there, and it turns out it was Ince. He shot him and killed him. So, out of remorse, he built this hotel, which was labeled the most beautiful hotel in Hollywood, the Chateau Elise. And this is it.
It stands as a vivid memory of a tragic accident, which to this day has never been officially solved.
One of the most notorious cases ever to hit Hollywood was the Fatty Arbuckle story. Now, in 1921, Fatty Arbuckle hosted a party, a wild sex party, at a San Francisco hotel. One of his guests was Virginia Rapp. He probably wished she never attended that party because she ended up dead.
Arbuckle was accused of violently abusing her and then killing her. Though later acquitted, he was never able to shake the public disdain. He died broke and forgotten 12 years later. Many still wonder what really happened that tragic night, 1921. He was the most popular hero to all kids growing up in the 50s. And to them, actor George Reeves was the Man of Steel.
No, I don't believe it.
You will, Blinky. You will.
You're just wasting your ammunition, Blinky. Sit down.
As Superman, Reeves was invincible. But that was not to be the case.
It was on June 16th, 1959. It's the day Superman died.
Right there. The media had a field day with the news of Reeves' death. There were those who just couldn't believe he would commit suicide. His death certificate clearly states a possible suicide. Newspapers reported he was despondent over being Superman for so long and that he couldn't get work. Police reports indicate Reeves' fiancée, Lenore Lemon, who was there at the time, claimed she commented that he was going to get a gun out and shoot himself. Moments later, a shot was heard. But shortly before his death, this promotional film was made in Reeves' backyard. Clearly, this was a man in the best shape of his life. He had just learned Superman was renewed for another season, and that he was about to marry the woman he loved. His mother hired a private detective to investigate his death. His conclusion was that George Reeves was, in fact, murdered. She kept his body on ice to prove to the world that he didn't commit suicide. She, however, died 6 months later, and Reeves' body was cremated. To this day, the authorities are investigating all possible motives to finally end this mystery. In any event, George Reeves will forever live on in reruns as Superman. Sex, scandal, death, and Hollywood. Peoria, it's not. Nor is it Sin City. This is just a little community of people that has the focus of the world on them.
Ever since he uttered the words, "I never drink wine," Bela Lugosi became immortalized as the nocturnal Count Dracula. The years following the 1931 release of Dracula proved unkind to the talented actor. Lugosi never escaped the image of Count Dracula. In 1956, Bela Lugosi died, broken, forgotten, in a shabby one-bedroomed apartment. His last request was that he be buried in his original Dracula costume, forever. After all, he may be back. Our search for answers in the universe begins with the stars. And the more we find out about them, the more involved the mystery becomes. On a clear night, approximately 6,000 stars can be seen with the naked eye, but there are millions of stars in the Milky Way. Ivan Dreyer studies astronomy and applies his knowledge in his daily work. We wanted to know what causes that glittering display of lights in the dark sky.
A star is like 100 million hydrogen bombs that continuously explode. It's extremely hot and extremely bright. And our sun is the closest star.
Stars have planets rotating around them, varying from a dull, constant circling to whirlwind spins.
Planets are often confused as stars because they appear as very bright points of light in the sky. The reason we know that they're not stars is that they move, and they move very rapidly among the stars.
There are as many galaxies in the universe as there are stars in the sky.
There are approximately 200 billion galaxies that are known to exist in the known universe. The universe actually is finite, and it is now believed to be about 12 billion years old.
New generation space telescopes are now being designed that might enable us to see the actual edge of the universe, which is also, in fact, the beginning of the universe. With all this information, new mysteries come to light.
The latest measurements from the Hubble Space Telescope reveal that the universe is approximately 12 billion years old. However, there are stars in the universe that are known to be older than that. So the question naturally arises, well, if the universe is 12 billion light years across, how come we got stars that are older than that? All these are still issues to be answered. We think we know the answers, and then all of a sudden new measurements come along and blow everything to hell.
Stargazing is something that mankind has been fascinated with since the very beginning. This path that the sun takes through the stars is called the ecliptic. The 12 constellations that lie along the ecliptic form the zodiac. Taurus, the bull, Aries, the ram, Gemini, the twins. All these patterns can be seen as the sun moves through certain constellations, creating what we know as the zodiacal constellations. Our sun, like any other star, is constantly changing.
A star can start out normally and ultimately evolve into a red giant, which means that it's going to expand.
It will eventually expand so widely that it will engulf the planets surrounding it, including planet Earth.
Any life then on Earth would have to move into the outer solar system to find a safe place. At that time, as a matter of fact, the icy moons of Jupiter will be inhabitable. But the good news is it's probably 4.5 billion years away.
From planet Earth, we see stars and planets as little specks of light against a dark sky. But how does Earth appear from the universe?
If you were standing on Mars looking back toward the sun, you would see a very bright blue dot in the sky that looked like a very bright blue star, and that would be our Earth.
To everyone, a star signifies something different. We are all familiar with the phrase, wish upon a star. Ivan had his own explanation.
I think people wish upon a star because stars are very steadfast. They're always there. They've been there for thousands of years. And so when you want to count on something being there, a star is something good to wish on.
We're constantly discovering new, intriguing insights about our water friends, the dolphins. Their intelligence is often described as that of a higher being, and it is even said by some that dolphins may be our link, the messengers to other life forms in the universe.
Dolphins and whales. The ocean is their playground, and myths and tales about their extraordinary abilities have been proven to be more than pleasant fantasies. People claim that dolphins and whales are here for a purpose, that these sea mammals possess the answer to questions about mankind and the universe. Everybody is intrigued by these graceful, friendly mammals. A few people have made it their lifelong mission to explore the existence of dolphins. Tricia Lamb-Fauerstein is one of these people.
One morning in December of 1992, I woke up and I was suddenly overwhelmed with the need to learn everything I could about dolphins and whales.
What Trish experienced is known as the call of the dolphins. It can happen through a dream, in a vision, or simply out of the blue. There is no explanation. Only if we could accept that dolphins and whales have an ability to communicate on a level that is beyond human comprehension.
There's a lot of channeled information that indicates that dolphins and whales came here from Sirius. Some say that they were godlike beings on Sirius and that they came to this planet to colonize it and take care of it.
One of their many functions on Earth is believed to be that of record keepers.
Whales and dolphins were sent here to store the history of this planet, of humans, of dolphins and whales, and all other beings.
Interaction between humans and dolphins has shown mysterious healings in humans with emotional problems like depression, fear, pain. People are stunned by the cases where disabled and autistic children improved greatly after spending time with dolphins.
With their sonar abilities, they can actually see into your body. They can detect problems, imbalances in your energy field, and then they beam back a frequency that helps to bring you back into balance. Another function they have is interdimensional travel or intergalactic travel. Supposedly dolphins and whales can take on their light body and travel anywhere in the galaxy or to any dimension they want to.
With the capability of interdimensional travel, it is said that dolphins transport humans from this realm into the afterlife. As record keepers, guides, and healers, the purpose dolphins and whales have seems never-ending.
Even Carl Sagan has pointed out that we have living right here on our planet an extremely intelligent and sensitive alien intelligence that lives in our waters.
If this is true, maybe dolphins and whales are introducing us to new ideas and possibilities. What started out as a weekend outing turned into an unexpected adventure for Steve and Sandy. It involved the sighting of a UFO. The difference is that dolphins played an enormous role in their experience. One evening, they decided to go to a campsite on a hill, close to a remote stretch of the beach.
And it was pretty late when we got there, so no one was around. And we hiked up a little bit farther to see the view of the ocean.
Finding the perfect spot, they decided to settle down for the night.
We were relaxing, talking, and looking at the ocean from the mountain. And I thought I heard something. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was just me hearing noises.
It's getting louder. What do you think it is?
It sounds like dolphins.
Dolphins? It seemed like they were talking to us and they were trying to tell us something, what we didn't know at that time.
Yeah, and I grew up around here and we always heard them cackling.
And the strangest thing ever happened.
What is it?
I don't know. We saw this huge ball of light, reds and blues, and the light was glistening right over there on the water, right where the dolphins were swimming.
What is it, Steve?
Jeez, I don't know. What is that thing? And you know, we couldn't believe what we saw.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here. It really freaked us out, and we just sort of stared at it. You know, and then the panic set in of what was happening.
Steve and Sandy told us that it would take them a long time to accept what happened to them. Even today, they are still very reluctant to share their experience with other people.
I don't know. Everyone's heard of strange encounters. And people say that dolphins are a higher intelligence being. But all I know is what I saw.
Steve and Sandy truly believed that the dolphins were connected to the UFO they saw, as if the dolphins wanted to prepare them. Dolphins and whales have a more developed intellect and sensitivity than we do.
There's a lot of things about us that make us far more like dolphins than we are like primates, say, who are supposed to be our ancestors. We don't have hair. We perspire and sweat. None of the other primates do. We have a layer of body fat. So there's lots of indications that we were once water beings and may have a common ancestry with the dolphins and whales. There's a wonderful story in one of the books I have about a man who was out snorkeling or scuba diving, I believe it was, and he got a cramp and could no longer swim, and he was about to drown, and he was praying for someone to come and rescue him, and a bottlenose dolphin came and draped himself right over his dorsal fin and carried him in and tossed him on the shore, because this man wasn't even capable of swimming into the beach at that point.
Whatever dolphins and whales represent, we are constantly reassured by their harmonious presence. Maybe they are the obvious evidence we've been looking for in our quest to explain where we came from and where we're going to.
In every country of the world, in every language, local legends of murder and mystery abound. Those who tell the stories do so in hushed tones, so as not to anger the restless spirits as they roam the night. The town of El Fuerte in Sinaloa, Mexico, was a quiet place back in the 1800s. It looked like many other colonial towns in the area. With its lovely plaza in the center of town, the one thing that set El Fuerte apart was the Orontia mansion, conspicuously located at the edge of the plaza. It was a huge structure, occupying nearly a full city block. It was lavishly decorated with furnishings from around the world, a chandelier from Italy, furniture from Vienna. It was built to the discerning taste of the wealthiest man in the state, Francisco Camilo Orontia. In 1869, he died, leaving the house and his fortune to his only heir, 18-year-old Adelaida. With all this wealth, you would think the beautiful young woman would have a perfect life. But instead, it seemed that Adelaida was too preoccupied with protecting her fortune for anything else. She became eccentric, withdrawn, antisocial, and so she ended up a lonely spinster in the huge house, rarely venturing outside as the years went by. Then, on September the 26th, 1927, the life of Adelaida took a violent turn. As she slept in her bed, she was brutally murdered. The fortune which had brought her all the luxuries of life was the cause of her death. Her trusted maid, Elisa, confessed to killing Adelaida for her money. It seemed to the people of El Fuerte that this would be the tragic end to the story of Adelaida Orontia. Little did they know that rather than an end, this would actually mark the beginning of a bizarre new chapter. People began hearing unusual sounds and seeing strange visions in the vacant Orontia mansion.
In the town of El Fuerte, many people have been talking about this old house and about the ghost in the house. Many people have seen a woman in the balcony or in some of the rooms and the layers, but there are some ghosts in this house.
The visions that are reported in the Orontia mansion are always described as a young woman in a white dress, one that could be a wedding dress. She has been spotted in many parts of the huge house. Often she is seen carrying a candelabra of lighted white candles. One night, a local photographer was able to snap an amazing photo in the house. He described seeing a woman in a white dress walk by carrying a candelabra. In the photo, you can plainly see the trail of the candles, and in the center is the faint outline of a woman. Several other people have had first-hand experiences with the Orontia ghost.
En una ocasión venía yo caminando por la calle que está frente al alto de los Orrantia.
One time I was walking along the street down by the Orrantia house. All of a sudden I glanced over and I saw a woman on the balcony. I recognized her. It was Adelaide Orrantia.
Yo sabía que esa era la única casa donde vivía.
I knew it was her. I knew her personally all my life. There she stood, looking exactly as she did as a young girl, in a long, flowing white gown.
Pues yo sabía perfectamente bien que ella ya había muerto.
But I knew perfectly well that she was dead. I'd been at her funeral 65 years ago, and now I was seeing her exactly as she looked when she was a young woman. I got very scared. I looked again, and to my disbelief, this time, she went down and disappeared until I was staring at an empty balcony. Then I became terribly frightened, and I ran home. I was so nervous, I had to run.
Another El Fuerte man still vividly remembers his encounter with the Orrantia ghost 30 years ago.
When I was a young man, I used to work in this house, sweeping the floor and taking care of some rooms in this house because it's a large and big house. And when I was doing my work, I heard a noise behind me. When I saw to see what was happening, then I saw suddenly a woman with a white dress walking from room to another room, and she disappeared into the wall. And I was very afraid, and I go very nervous outside of the house, running away because I really was very afraid. And then now the house is empty because the people doesn't want to go and rent or whatever. It's very, very strange.
Well, I can tell you, that is definitely one lovely old house I will not be spending the night in. It is said that explorers in the 16th century saw golden cities on the horizon as they journeyed across seemingly uninhabited territory. Was this a mirage, an overactive imagination, or could it have been one of the first sightings of UFOs? The 7 golden cities of Cibola, the legendary cities of incredible riches sought by 16th century Spanish conquistadors. Several credible persons said that they have seen them, yet when expeditions retraced their paths, the golden cities seemed to have vanished into thin air. One modern-day Swiss researcher believes that they did indeed vanish, because they were actually huge extraterrestrial ships. It all started with a Spanish sailor named Cabeza de Vaca, shipwrecked in 1528 off the coast of what would later become Texas. He spent 8 years wandering across northern Mexico until he finally reached the Spanish settlement of Culiacan. There, he told an incredible story of seeing 7 amazing golden cities on the horizon. He said they were so imposing and foreign that he was afraid to go near them. His report was convincing enough to prompt Mendoza, the Viceroy of New Spain, to send Fray Marcos de Niza on a mission to find the cities of gold. 1 year later, de Niza returned with positive confirmation that he had seen the cities in the distance, but with his small expeditionary contingent, he too was afraid to approach them. However, he said the cities were actually 300 miles east of where de Vaca had reported them. After hearing this, Mendoza sent the great explorer Francisco Vázquez de Coronado with an expedition force of more than 1,000 to conquer the golden cities once and for all. Coronado found no cities at the spot where they were reported to be. But later, however, his continuing search led him to discover one of the natural wonders of North America, the Grand Canyon. Still, without the golden cities, Coronado returned in disgrace. Then, in 1550, Francisco de Ibarra, governor of Nueva Vizcaya, received surprising information. He was told that some years ago, members of an Indian village had seen 7 golden cities in western central Mexico, 800 miles south of de Vaca's sighting. Ibarra traveled to the Indian village and heard an amazing story of huge golden objects that had come down from the sky and landed in the distance and covered great areas of the earth. 2 days later, the enormous golden objects once again flew away, just as mysteriously as they had arrived. The Indians believed these could only have been sent by the Great Spirit as a divine event. So they carved their recollections of the occurrence on rocks on a nearby mountain to remain forever. Ibarra had never heard of such an incredible thing as huge golden objects falling from the sky. He climbed to the place on top of the mountain to see the rock carvings for himself, hoping to glean some sort of clue. He studied the petroglyphs with great interest. And after hearing the Indian story and seeing it carved in stone, Ibarra spent many hours watching the sky for the return of these enormous golden objects. But to his disappointment, they never came. For the last 10 years, Dr. Helmut Kroller has studied the connection between 16th century petroglyphs found in many areas of Mexico and the accounts of the 7 golden cities.
Cabeza de Vacas said he saw the cities in the distance. Cities was the best word he had to describe them. He knew nothing about extraterrestrial crafts. They were beyond his 16th century comprehension. He described them as vast golden areas shining in the distance, and at night they lighted up the sky. Coronado went to the exact location, and when he went there, they were gone. And the others saw the cities, but in different locations. The solution to the mystery lies in the Indian petroglyphs. They are the Indian records of the landing of the spacecraft. These occur in many areas of Mexico, but the images are always the same. Why? Because they are the same ships landing in different areas. There are always 2 types of spacecraft depicted in the petroglyphs. One is a circle with rays radiating from it. We can judge size by relating to other objects of the petroglyphs. The other one is shaped like 2 connected circles. This ship is much larger. It is huge, about 1 mile across. There are always 7 of these large ships in the petroglyphs. These are the 7 golden cities.
Of course, that sounds like an incredible theory, but just imagine, if you had never seen an airplane or even a bicycle, how would you explain a spaceship? Where did they go? Why did they go? Will they return? Perhaps these are the real questions about the 7 golden cities.